I don't know why I did that thing. Don't know why I did that. Yeah. All right, should we talk about this? Yeah? Clap your hands once if you can hear my voice. Yes, good morning. This is, what an exciting day to be alive, yeah? I hope everybody had killer weekends. And congratulations on finishing your first project. That's awesome. Way to go. If it's not perfect, that's just part of like the learning, right? Definitely if you're not happy with it or where it's at, like continue working on it, right? Like this is for your benefit, this is for you. Go back, refactor code, work on it. It can be if you like your game, you should keep investing time in it because you like it. And then maybe someday you'll convert it to like a web-based game or just like in the console of the web. So if somebody opens it up and find a game, who knows? That could be kind of cool. Anyway, so how do we do on this warm-up? Yay, nay, okay. Too tired to move our thumbs, yeah? Okay, so we got a few thumbs. So there's two parts to this, right? The first part is writing a my for each. Because let's pretend I don't have it. I'm in a new file, so let's pump that out. Const my for each. And this takes in what? What's my for each taken? Repeat. Well, that was wild. I love that though. It's like a ventriloquist or something. Thank you, Rafid. Array and a callback. And Marvin, what do I put inside of it? Excellent. Okay, so we're gonna have to loop through every element. Let I equals 0. Let's all go by different names today. Call me Celine. Array dot length I plus plus. Right, and then what do we got to do with somebody new who maybe is going by their own identity? What do we need to do inside of this loop? Henry, help me out here.
You're gonna put callback parentheses array bracket in I.
Excellent. Right. Perfect. So, and the way to say that in English is we're going to call the callback and pass in the element, each element of the array. Right? So for every element in this array, we're going to invoke this callback. This is our classic for each. Do I need a return for this? No, right? Colin's shaking his head. I'm going to go with that. Okay. So then we were asked to write a product. So I'm going to say const product. And it said it took in an array. Oops. Okay. So it says, what's the first thing we're going to need? Well, yeah, a variable for what?
For product.
Okay. What should we start it as?
1.
What?
1. Why?
Yeah, why 1?
0 times any number is 0.
Okay, but why not 2? Like why 1? I know why not 0. Repeat.
When you use 1 as the start point, you're going to get back the next number.
Right.
2, you double number.
Exactly. Right? So when someone says like, hey, so why this? Answer about that instead of like the why nots, right? We want to be positive. So it's like, how was your day? Well, it wasn't bad. You would say it's a great day, right? It's rock and roll. But yeah, 1 is right. And that's because 1 times anything is anything. So that way we're not altering our like data and our final outcome. Okay. So what's the next line of this look like? Yeah, Brandon. So we're gonna call my for each. Yeah. Gonna pass in the array. Cool. So, whoops, I should put down in there. Right, so this line is saying we're going to take that, we're going to pass in this array, and then every number in this array, we're going to multiply it to our current product and reassign product's value to that, whatever that evaluates to. Excellent. Last line? Yeah, let's do it. Feed what's up.
Return the product.
Yeah, we're going to return
Yeah.
our prod. Yeah. I hate when it does that thing. Okay. So let's check it. So we say console.log, and we'll call product. We'll pass an array of 1, 2, 3, 4. Should give us 6 times 4 is 24, yeah? We got 1 instead. Oh, thank you. There we go. Yeah, see, if we mess up, it just takes the first argument. Yeah?
Why is it that when you like switch around, you see where it says prod times equal num? Why is it that when you switch prod and num, like I get a num?
So if you did that, you wouldn't be reassigning the value of product. So if we think back to that times equal, that's us writing prod equals prod times num. If you switch that around, it's num equal prod times num. And this isn't going to do anything to change our product. Good question. Any other questions on this? So this is the idea that we're going to be using a lot today. Hopefully you had time to go back and work on your callbacks lab. But because today is essentially the continuation of that. So what do I mean? So in JavaScript, it has its own for each. So we no longer have to write this function, and we no longer invoke it exactly like this. So if we were going to do product, I'm going to go ahead and comment this out, and I'm going to rewrite it in the new way, which you'll be writing it from now on. So instead of my for each, we don't have that, but we're going to call it on the array itself because it's an array method. So we're going to say array dot for each, and then open up the parentheses and pass in the argument like that. I think I might have an extra thing here, but okay, let's try it now. That freaks out. On line 18. Oh, no, that's not it.
I think that operates
Something to do with this.
What is it saying?
Yeah, that's probably it. There we go. So this is the new way of writing it. Right? So it's not too different. Instead of passing in an array, you call the method on the array. But you still pass in the callback. That is the only difference. What does for each return? Nothing, undefined, just like ours. So it's the exact same. In this language, in Ruby it returns itself, but it returns like the array itself. But In JavaScript, it returns undefined. All right, so let's prove it to ourselves that we know this. Let's write a function. All right, write a function that takes in an array of names and prints each name to the console. Use for each. So, also, I guess before we start, let's just to talk about a little bit of the benefits of for each versus like a for loop. Is you don't have to worry about getting like there's a lot of like little mistakes people make, which is like I starting at 0 or I where should I start, and then also like where should it end? You have to have that end condition always. And you also have to just denote that step I++. So it's less writing and less work to write a for each, which means there's less chance of writing an error. So instead of like if you do I while I is less than or equal to array.length, right? You do one too far. You accidentally do undefined. It's an easy mistake to make. Maybe you won't make it if you've written like tons of for loops, right? But with for each, that's already kind of controlled for you. Okay, so let's write this. Let's take like 5-6 minutes to do this, and then I'm gonna come up with another activity.
Chase the rainbow. So let me tell you this.
Oh, yeah. Same thing. Actually, I mean, most of my looks great right now. Like when I have a lot of bread.
So what I'll do is
I'm still trying to find the best color combination.
All right. Clap your hands once if you can hear my voice. Clap your hands twice if you can hear my voice. Clap your hands once if you can hear my voice. And I like that extra clap at the end. Thank you. Okay. So, how'd we do on this? Yes, no, maybe so. Okay. All right. That's all right. We're going to have lots of practice. Right? That's the good news. The bad news is we'll also keep moving. Okay. So let's do it. So we say const. I guess it's event names because that auto-filled that. And this is just taking in an array of events, I guess. And then what do we need to do inside of here? What? For what? I don't think I'm going to need to do that. I just need to print each name. Right, so not each function. So like, don't let the last function completely alter your approach to this function. Yeah, Kevin?
So I did array that for each.
Okay, so we're going to do events dot for each, yeah?
Inside of it, I made an argument called element
Yeah, so I'll shorten that to L.
and that arrow returns
Go ahead, yeah.
constant.log
Constant.log L. Okay. Are we missing anything else? Shall we try it? So, event names. Does event names return anything as a function? No. So we're using it for what? Side effects, yeah? Okay, so if it's not returning anything, what does it return? Undefined, right? Thank you. So I'm not going to console log when I call this function down here, because then I'll console log the word undefined at the end. So I'm just going to say event names, and we'll say Corey, Celine, John, Caroline. Okay. And when we run it, we get a big error. Excellent. What's there? On 34, I have parentheses. Yeah, that's connecting to. Do I have an? Is it something higher up? Huh. Okay. It's this thing. Somehow this got written at the top of the function. Don't know how that happened. That's very weird. Let's try it again. There we go. Okay. So it's working, right? It's printing out all the names. So another key difference. So I'm going to write this too. So I'll say key diff between for each and for loop. Can't. What? I hate that. Thank you. Can't break out of for each. right? So if you write return or something out of a for each, it's not going to work. Okay, so let's try another one, yeah, shall we? Yeah, I like that. Okay, so write a function that takes in an array and a target. I don't know why it like loves this event thing. And a target. Return a boolean if the target is included. Questions on what I'm asking? I can clarify. So I don't want you to just use the includes method, by the way. I really want you to write this with for each. Isaiah?
You want us, so let's say it's an array of like 5 objects, you want to return a boolean for each of those objects.
No, just one boolean. So it's going to look like this. Includes, let's say I put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm saying I'm looking for the number 6. This should give me back false. And then if I did 4, 3 here, this should give me back true. Okay? I want you to use, so there's a couple rules, okay? I want you to use for each, and don't use includes. That's another built-in method. Don't use includes or a for loop. What? Okay, those are the rules. Because I definitely know that if I were writing this, I would actually use not includes. And if I wasn't allowed to use includes, I would use a for loop. But for this one, I want you to use a for each. This is just a practice.
later on you can add on to it. Add some other so the keyword there is return. You want to return, right? You want to return for each of them. So you have to find a way for return. How do you name Yes. So keyword is there. Return. You want to return something.
Because we don't know what's in that array, right? It could be strings, it could be anything.
Yes. So is there a way where you keep state? Go ahead.
No, I'm trying to read to someone who's targeting.
You might want to say that. I'm only giving you Let's say, so you can come from I'm trying to read and figure out. And now,
All right. Hey now, hey now. Clap your hands once if you can hear my voice. Oh no, my computer fell asleep at the exact same time. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so how did this one go? This one's a little trickier, yeah? Every problem will always get a little trickier, right? That's the game. But let's do this, right? So I saw some interesting stuff, right? When I give you a problem like this is what it's going to look like when you test your code. right? So what's the name of the function? Includes. What's the two arguments it takes? An array and a target, right? So that's what we want. So that should look like this. Const includes, takes in an array and a target. Yeah, Henry.
It says don't use includes or
No, we're writing a function called includes. There's a built-in includes method. See, there's a method that I could go return array.includes target, right? So for people who like look things up, right, that would just I don't know why I'm always getting these. Part of it's because I'm up here. Unexpected. Did this thing do this again? What is going on? It's like there's some weird package I must have in my. I have to figure that out because that's like it's really starting to get under my skin. Like if you write bugless code and it throws a bug, it's super annoying. Okay, right? So this technically works. This isn't what I want though, right? That's why I said you can't use includes because there's a built-in includes method. All right, so let's talk about how this problem actually works. I lost one too many. Okay, so what's the first thing we have to do?
first thing you have to do is you have to set up
A what?
a variable.
A variable. Yeah. Okay, you're totally right. I'm going to write it wrong first. Yeah, actually, so I'm not going to take input yet because I think I'm going to get correct input. I'm going to write it how most people wrote it the first time. Yeah? Yeah, Doug, you want to help me with it? All right.
Array,
Array?
for each, and then it said there takes an element.
Right, so EL is the standard for element, okay? And you can put this in, I'm going to put this in parentheses. Doesn't technically need to be if it's alone like that. So please use EL, right? Because if a lot of people use num, there's no guarantee that the array given has nums, right? It could be an array of strings where they're checking to see if the word cat is in an array of strings and stuff. Okay, let's keep going, Doug.
And then in there you can do a statement if element equals target,
Yeah?
return true,
Yep. What's the other big mistake?
else
Yeah.
false.
Thank you. Perfect code that I wanted for this example. Right? Let's be honest. How many of us wrote this? Yeah? Thank you. Right? Me too. I wrote it my first time like this as well. Don't worry. All right. So when we go to run it, we get two undefined. We go, oh, shit. Why'd that happen? Right? And then I kept saying, well, what's it say on line 37? Okay, so the key difference between the for loop and the for each loop is you can't break out of a for each. Okay, that being said, if we wrote our for loop like this, it would probably return false out on the first element if it wasn't the target, and we'd also get the incorrect answer. So it wouldn't quite work for that either. But we could do a couple things different. All right, so instead of this, what do we need to do? I heard Henry say something. We have to create this variable. So we can say like let found, and then what should the default of found be? Isaiah,
False.
why?
Because if you check and try to set it to false, let's say you're looking for a number in the middle of an array, and the next number after is not the same number, so that's going to set it to false.
Yeah, right. So that answers like the next question. So the reason this should default to false is because if we don't find anything ever, we want it to return false instead of return true. It has to be one or the other. Okay, so now we can go like that, and so we're going to update these, right? So if element is equal to target, we'll say found equal to true, found equal to false, and at the very end we can return found, yeah? Okay, so this is mistake number 2, yeah? That probably a lot of us made. So we run it and we go, okay, so they're both false. So we go, it's working, but how come it's not working when it's true? It gets really annoying when we do this. If I make this a 5 and I run it, we go, oh, it works perfectly. Sam.
It's because if the target value is before like another random value, it's gonna set itself to false again.
Yeah?
Because you have the else statement.
That's right. So because of this else statement, even if I've hit a positive true in the past, or before we wanted to return out of, if the next element is false, we're going to reassign it back to false, even though before it was true. Right? So we actually only want to flip it once. And so because we only want to flip it once, we're going to get rid of the else. Right? Thank you, Sam and Isaiah, on that one. Right? So if we run it now, and I've moved it back to the 3, we get the true positive. So we're good. Questions on how that's working? Okay, so let's learn one more thing about the for each, yeah? So what was something that was nice that we had with a for loop that we don't have with a for each loop, besides the ability to return out of it? What's something we haven't used or seen? Doug? Break? Yeah, sure. That's not going to help. But that's something we have, but that's not something we'll be able to use. What else is different? So besides the return and the break, what's something our for loop gave us that we used every time that we're not using anymore? Well, what? An index. Kind of, yeah. Right? We're missing that I. Remember we had that beautiful I in the past? The eyes are blue, brown, green, yellow, all the eyes. Yeah, right? We don't have that I anymore. So, we actually do. That's the fun part. So for each, the callback that goes inside for each does expect one element, right? But you can also, it's built in, you can also give it a comma, a second argument of I. If you give it an I, it has an I. So let me just quickly prove that to you. So I'm just going to make a quick array. I'll say 1, or I'll say cat, cow, bird, dot for each, and I'll say animal, I, console.log, I. So we still have I. Right? It's coming as a second argument. It's an optional argument. There's actually 2 more optional arguments that come with for each that you don't use very much. The next argument is the array and the fourth argument is the context. But we don't need to worry about those for now. We just need to worry about element and I. So let's practice. So write a function that takes in an array and prints every other element. Questions on that? So if I pass in cat, cow, bird, it should just print out cat and bird. Okay? Well, then you can't read the problem.
Just for a second. Sorry.
Okay. All good. Okay, ready? Let's do this for 10 minutes. just so you know, this is Winter. I don't know if you met her. She was in my class last year. She's an IA in 6.2. So they're in professional skills. So if you need help, you can also ask her. She's like, well, she can for it.
I would it like that. And then yeah. No, I'm still working on it.
When it comes to 40, right? 47. You can also ask them that. Right? You can also access it. You already have access to that, right? Yeah, you really small ones.
Yeah.
Oh. I like it on the. You don't want to do Oh.
You don't have to split them.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I
Put
can
it
just.
all for it. That's the theme of the day.
Oh, this is,
I mean, you still have to write them out, but you can use them.
okay.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I
So you have to do things in the already. You already have it right. You already have a lot of people on. When do you want to use mine?
Oh, I didn't.
So we should also work with you to add caliber.
did it with the stream. It would be the stream.
Yeah, I did with tactile document.
0, 1, 2.
Yeah, it was just the basketball each, and then, yeah, it's already inside of the array.
I got a question. What I really think that have, I really have what else Okay, I'll ask you one question. Okay.
All right, clap your hands once if you can hear my voice. Clap your hands twice if you can hear my voice. All right, we're still talking. Clap your hands once if you can hear my voice. Okay, how did we do on this one? Okay, so let's talk about it. So it says write a function, right? So every time I see a lot of people, they try to use the code we just wrote from the last problem into this code, right? That's a habit we got to break. So in this one, it said write a function. So that's the same. We'll call it every other. I need an R in there. Every other. And it says it takes in an array. So I saw a lot of people do like array and target. But like, this doesn't take in a target, right? It just says it takes in an array. So there is no target or anything else. Specifically, it's always going to tell you. And that's like always going to be how it is in every kind of person that asks you to write functions. It will always tell you what the input is. Okay, so this is going to be a function. Get rid of that space. Okay. And it says we know we need to use for each because that's the theme of the day. So what's the first thing I'm going to do here? Ashia. That's right. Array dot for each. And for each takes in what?
Element.
It takes in a callback function.
Oh.
Right? It takes in a function that is a callback. Right? The callback takes in an element. Yeah. So we're going to say element. And I'm going to make this an anonymous function, right? What else do I need to? What else could I help our callback function have?
I put I.
Yeah, so we're going to give it an index. So I'm going to say I. Okay, and then, thank you, Ashia. Does somebody else want to help me with the logic on the inside here? Let's do it, David. Okay, so we're going to check if I is even by modding it by 2. He's checking if it's odd. I'm going to do even. So we'll say equal to 0. Right? If you do 1, you'll get the other every others. Also okay. But for this one, I want it to be the evens. Perfect. So then we're just going to console.log our element. That's it. So let's try it. We'll say every other. We'll pass in some array. I'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we should print out 1, 3, 5. I swear to God, if it's that thing up there. I do not know why that keeps happening. Serenity now. Okay. So it's working, right? My computer may not be, but the code does. Okay. So, a couple more things I want to go over. Hopefully for each is feeling familiar at this point. There's a few more things I want to talk about. I want to talk about map, filter, and every today. Okay? So these are 3 more array methods. Now, we're not going to go nearly as in depth on the other 3 because I believe if you get 1, the other 3 just kind of come, and you'll be able to work on it with your partner during the lab. There's a trickier one that we're not going over today. We'll go over it another day. So for map, when we wrote the version of my map, what did that return? A new array, right? So the real map works the same way. All right, so if I have a map and I want it to say, okay, I'll say let console log the whole thing, console.log, and I'll just write the code in here. Right, I could of course put this all in a function or something, but I have some array, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can call .map like that. That's what it looks like. And map takes in a callback function, right? And it also has the same thing as the array where you can also pass, the for each, where you can also pass in the I. In fact, they all do, okay? All of these have the I that you can also pass in as an optional second argument. All of them. This one is going to take in just the element for now. And this function, this callback function in here, does it need to return something? Yes. So if we, just very quickly, okay, if I do a const my map, it took in an array and a callback, yeah? This looks familiar, yes? And we did for let I equal 0, I is less than array.length, I plus plus, and we said, I need a result array at the top. We did let res equal that. Hopefully this looks mostly familiar. And we did res.push callback of array at I, and then we did return res. Yeah, does that look familiar? Right, this is like how it's working on the inside. And we can see that we're pushing the result of this, right? So our callback needed to have a return because we had to push the result of that return into our result array, right? So we needed the return value. So when I write a map down here, this callback here, this anonymous function, needs a return value. So I can return, if I wanted to double it, I would say element times 2. Then when I run this, we'll get our 2468. Okay? Questions on map? Yeah. Map is an array method that takes in a callback, calls the element, each element in the array. It calls the callback and passes each element of the array as an argument, takes the return value of that and puts it into a new array. At the very end, it returns a brand new array. So this whole thing is printing back this array of 2468. I guess we can do one practice problem on it, but yeah.
Just trying to understand exactly what you said. Basically, the difference between this and for each is that map actually returns an array. The other one just returns the elements.
The other one just returns undefined.
Well, undefined, yeah.
Yeah, but this one returns.
Map makes it an array.
It's actually making that array and returning that back. Okay? Filter will also do that, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So real quick, we'll have you write a function that takes in an array and returns, I don't know, every element quadrupled. Okay? And returns a new array. Right? And I want you to use map. Probably lowercase. Questions on what's being asked? All right, let's do that now. Keep knocking it away, knocking it out.
You said that map questions already returns an array,
Mm-hmm.
so we wouldn't have to create this.
Nope.
So now, yeah, so all of this, try.
Oh, I think we're saying, no, I don't think so.
So that has return. But our one function also needs to be the same.
Wait, so it's already on the brain.
All right, clap your hands once if you can hear my voice. Clap your hands twice if you can hear my voice. Okay, how'd we do on this? Yes, no, maybe. Right, so this is pretty similar to the for each. Okay, so a couple things. First thing I noticed is a bunch of people wrote console.log and then tried to do the code in there because that was my quick example. We got to always read the instruction. The instruction will tell you what you need. Write a function. Okay. Const quad that takes in an array. Array. Okay. Okay. That's the first step. Reading and interpreting the instruction. I know it sounds like silly, but it's definitely something we got to work on. Okay. Then, so what's the goal? What do we need to do in here? Yeah, Will? We're going to create a new array. Okay. Farah? Yeah, so we're going to create the new array with the map. Awesome. So we're going to say array.map. And then map takes in what? Takes in a callback. Map takes in a callback function. Right? All of these take in a callback function. Because map takes in a function, it's technically called a high order function. Any function that takes in a function is called a high order. The other one's called the callback. That's okay. So then the callback expects what as its argument? That expects the element, yeah? So we'll say element. And then what do we need to do inside of this callback? Yeah, so we want to do element times 4. But does our callback need to return anything? Yes, right? Because that return value is what's going to get pushed into that array. So we're going to say, okay, return. Okay, so this is what I saw a lot of people write. Right? Be honest. Let's go. How many people wrote this, right? A ton. That's okay. So then we do console.log, and we say quad, and we pass in 1, 2, 3, 4. We run it. I'm missing what? Thank you. Thank you. Who shouted out that number? Love it. Thank you. We get undefined. Oh no. So why am I getting undefined? Gavin. Because we're not returning the new array, right? So I have a return here, but this is the return to this function, right? The highlighted function. But what's the return to this function, this whole quad? Well, nothing. So of course it's pretty undefined. So map evaluates to what? Map? What's map going to evaluate to? I'm hearing new array. Is that you? Yeah, right? Map becomes a new array. So I can either say like let res and assign it here, and then just do like return res. I could do that. And that would work, right? But I could also say, well, I'm doing like some extra work there. I don't really need to make a variable. That gives me more room for error. I could just return whatever that gives me back. Questions on that? What? Okay. Yeah.
So we did it like we didn't return array.map.
Okay.
We took that out. We got the number, but it's not in the array.
Oh, it should be. You're probably logging this, but then we're not able to use the output. We actually want our functions to return. Unless it's a side effect function, we need it to return. I'll go over that one with you in a second. Okay. I'm feeling it. We feeling it? Let's take a 5-minute break. All right. We'll be back at like literally. We're gonna start again at 12:15. So be here sharp. All right. If we're not here by sharp, we won't get as many breaks. Yeah. And then we're gonna go over the next 2 things. Yeah. I know it's been long.
Oh, okay. Because we know that
Oh, right there it is.
I'll take time.
Yes. Yeah. You pumped up? Oh, hell yeah.
All right.
First of all, don't start.
Awesome. All right, glad your hands went at the beginning of my voice. Okay. Come on, 12:15. I meant to. Right, that was literally 7 minutes. Okay, 7 minutes into heaven, right? Okay. So one of the feedbacks I'm getting on this is like, hey, this double return thing is like, that's confusing. Yeah? Yeah. Okay, so I want us to think about this in a slightly different way. So let's pretend I had a function called times 4. And all this did was take in a number, and all it did was return the number times 4. Yeah? Feel digestible? Okay, so this, instead of writing it like this, right, I very much could just write times 4 here. Right? I can name functions. Right, so if I just do it here, the return seems pretty obvious. Like, I need to return on a quad. Hopefully it feels somewhat intuitive. If not, that's okay. But I just don't like we don't always name these functions because in map and like for each, it's typically kind of a one-shot deal. You don't need to keep reusing this function, so you don't tend to go up and name them because that could make things more chaotic than like just writing an anonymous function. And this is the anonymous function is a little bit more standard. Yeah, Sam.
So when you were referring to the fact that map needs return, were you referring to needing return inside of the function or in front of map?
So I'm in both. So this is our callback function. This has an implicit return. Here, I'll make it more explicit so that it looks exactly like the other one. Right? So this function needs a return because we need to take that return and shove it into the output array, which map gives us. This whole map, this is going to evaluate to that array. And that's the array we want to return. It's kind of some inception stuff, yeah?
Just one return per function.
Yep. Right, as soon as the function returns, that's the end of that function. We just happen to be calling times 4 with every single element, and that's returning. And then our whole quad function still needs its return.
You forgot this.
Where?
Time.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Eagle eyes. It still works, yeah. Good eyes. Right? Okay. So let's try one more with map, and then we're going to move on to filter and every. Right? A lot of these should be following the same kind of pattern. So I know it's tough in the beginning, but if you can file it away in your head in the same section, like as in like this is conceptually very similar, it'll be easier to remember everything instead of remembering each thing as an individual component. Because conceptually, they're all like very close. It's like identical cousins, or I don't think there are identical cousins, but it's like identical twins, like that look slightly different, but they're still like you can mix them up. It's no big deal. Okay, so for this one, write a function that takes in an array of numbers and returns a new array with each number having been multiplied by its index. I don't know why it does that thing. By its index. Okay? So what do I mean by that? It's going to be, I'll say, I'm going to call this index map. It's going to take in the array of 1, 2, 3, 4. And the output of this will be 0, 2, 6, and 12. Right? It's been multiplied by its index. And I'll, of course, have to console log this. Alright, so let's get jazzed up. Let's get totally fired up and stoked and just rock this out, yeah? Alright, we can do this. That's Hell yeah.
You know, I was just thinking, it's like, does that even make sense?
Not today, yeah. Yodeling. All right, clap your hands once if you can hear my voice. Clap your hands twice if you can hear my voice. Oh, thank you for the applause. Okay, how do we do on this one? Yes, no, maybe so. We got a lot more yeses. That's good, right? It's almost like if we do it a lot of times, we're going to keep getting better. That's awesome. First things first, write a function, yeah? So we said const. Function in this one, I guess. We'll say index map. And this takes in some kind of array, and looks like that's it. So what do we need to do inside of here? Yeah, Shia, help me out here. So why are we returning?
Because we're using .map
Because we're going to use map, and map's going to give us what back?
and array.
An array back, and that's the array we just happen to want to return for this problem, yeah? Awesome. So do array.map. And then what do I need, Pat? What is this? So what goes inside a map?
Callback.
A callback function, right? Okay. That callback function expects how many arguments? For this time, it's 2. Those 2 arguments are what? Element and index. Okay, great. So we have L and I. Okay, and so what do we need to do inside of here? What's the action of the problem, Britt? Nice. So we're going to return our element times our I. Okay. Anything else? Let's run it. Perfect. That was our expected result. Okay. So let's try a different concept, which is the same concept but a different problem. Yeah? Okay. Let me explain what I mean by that. So now we're going to learn filter. Okay? So now we're on filter. That was map. Right? We've killed for each and we've killed map. And now we're going to slay filter, yeah? Who's excited to do filter? Yeah. Woo! Okay, awesome. Great, thank you. I love enthusiasm. Okay, so filter is super cool. Filter returns an array like, what else do we know that it returns an array? Map, right? So filter returns an array like map. It also takes in a callback function. It has the optional I. That callback function takes in an element, also an I, right? But instead, this callback function is going to return true or false, or truthy or falsy, okay? Whichever the callback function returns truthy will get added to the array. So let me show you what I mean by that. So I say, okay, I'll write a function called const all ones. Okay? This takes an array, and the goal of this function is going to be to give me a new array of all the ones that were in the array. Okay, so I'll show you what the goal is more explicitly. So I'm going to console.log all ones, and I'm going to pass in this array. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 1, 4, 1. Okay? How many ones are there?
3.
Oh, excellent. And so this is going to log an array that has 1, 1, 1. That's it. Yeah? So it's all, because that's going to be the goal. I'm filtering out all of the other ones, yes? So how do I write this? Well, I'm going to say array dot filter. Okay? So far, so good. We're going to invoke it, and inside of this invocation, what do we pass? A callback function. Okay. This callback function is going to look at the element. This is going to be an anonymous function for now. And so I'm going to put a little bit of logic. And I'm going to say, hey, if element is equal to 1, I'm going to return true. I technically don't need an else because it will send undefined, right? And undefined is falsy. But to be really clear, just for our first example, I'm going to return. I could also have done this in a ternary. Return false. So array.filter, what does this evaluate to? No, the array.filter. So after all of this happens, what are we going to get back? It's really similar to map.
It's going to evaluate if all the numbers are 1.
Right, but what will it give us back? It's actually going to get, so right now we've got these returns, so we're going to get back an array. It's just like map. It gives us back an array, the array.filter. So here I'm going to return whatever I get back from this array.filter. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and run it. And we're going to get 1, 1, 1. So let's talk about this one more time. Let's go through it, and then I'm going to answer Doug's question. So, array.filter. Filter is an array method that we can call that takes in a callback and gives us back a new array of all the elements that had a truthy value from the callback. So let me write that down. So filter is an array method that returns a new array of all elements that had a truthy return value after, or from, I'll say, from the callback. Right? So in this example, where we passed in 1, right? So we said, okay, first element is 1 equal to 1, return true, stored that in the result array. Said 2 equal to 1, said no, that's false, so it didn't store that one. 3 equal to 1, no, so it didn't store that one. 1 equal to 1, yep, so it's going to store that one into the result array. And continued all the way through the end, and return the final array of all the ones that stored because it came back as true for that a function. Okay, Doug, still question?
We have to write true or false, but we just do if statement.
Yeah, okay, great question. Yeah, you could just do an if statement, right? Let's get real. Okay, I can make this. Okay, so element equal to 1. I don't really need a condition, right? I can just say return element equal to 1. Yeah, that's like the shortest way. That makes sense? Because that's going to return true or false already, yeah? Okay. That will still work. I can prove it. Okay. So it doesn't need to be that way. I was just kind of showing it to make it more clear, but this works too. Okay, so the task, right? We got to try it, yeah? Who doesn't want, let's take this baby for a test drive, okay? So we will write a function that takes in an array of numbers, filter the array, so we are left with only the even numbers. Ooh, yeah, we can do it. Okay, questions on what's being asked? Okay, we can do this. Let's bang this out in 5 minutes. Right, start with that function. Throw in that filter. We can do it. Put a condition on there. It's just that that anonymous function. It's just like you can think of it as just like any function. So you can still do the same stuff. All right, clap your hands once if you can hear my voice. Clap your hands twice if you can hear my voice. How'd this one go? Give me the. Oh man, so we really crushed this one. This one felt good. Okay, that's awesome. Let's just blow through it then. So we'll say const all evens, took in an array, and we did. What do I need to do? Come on. I'm going to return array.filter. What's array.filter taken as an argument? Callback. Oh, nice. Fool me once, yeah? What's our callback function taken as its argument? An element? Okay, sounds good. Right? Optional I could also go in there, but we don't need it for this problem. And then what should we do with our filter? What do we need to check? If it's an even number, right? So we can just say return element mod 2 equal to 0. Okay, cool. So let's give it a shot. We'll say console.log all evens. Loves events for some reason. All evens, and we'll just do like one.
Yeah, change one, like first one, all evens.
Thank you. Yes. So much easier to write bug-free code with a class of 38 people, like, helping. So thank you. Right, so that looks like that's working. So questions on that? Okay, let's do the final one, because I think we're pretty good on this one. We can always do more later. If we start on the lab and we feel totally overwhelmed, we can do more practice. So the last one that I want to work on today is called every. Every. Right? There's also one called sum, just so you know, which works in kind of the opposite way of every. So every. Every is an array method that takes in a callback. It returns a Boolean. So every returns a Boolean. This is what makes it different from the last two. What did the last two return? An array. Every returns a Boolean. So does sum, just so you know. So this returns a Boolean. Returns a Boolean of Boolean. Will return true if every element from the callback return returns a truthy value. Marvin.
So in a way, it's like how we had like statements, so it's like how and are both sides to be true, or actually work. It's sort of
Yeah, sort of similar to that. So I'll do one, and then we'll do one. Yeah. So for my first one, I'm gonna check if every element is even. Okay. So this is the goal of my function. So I'm gonna write const all evens. Oh God. Evens. I just go to so many events, you know. Okay. This takes in an array. And then I'm going to be calling every on it. And I just want to return if they're all evens or not, for whatever reason. Yeah. So I'm going to say return array dot every. Every takes in a callback. That callback is expecting an element. And then in here, I'll say is return element modulo 2 equal to 0, right? This is going to tell me if an element is even, yes? So for every single element in this array, it's going to check, hey, am I an even? If all of them turn out to be evens, our whole function here will return true, else it will turn false. So let's see this in action. So we're going to say console.log, all evens, and this is going to take in an array, and I'm going to pass in 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and then I'm going to pass in another one where I have 2, 4, 5, 8, 10. Jesus. Thank you. Okay. So what do we expect to see when I run this? True or false? Trick question was, is it an error? Boom! That was just that just happened to be that way. I wasn't expecting that, actually. Why?
Last problem.
Oh, I'm redeclaring it. Yeah, great, brilliant. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, it better not be that thing at the top. All right, so it is working. True or false? Questions on how that's working, or what it's expecting. All right, do we want to give it a shot? Yeah, let's rock it. Okay, so let's write a function that takes in an array and a target, right? So remember, read the instruction, right? So this is different input than what I just wrote. Okay, return whether. Is that how you spell whether? Yeah. All elements in the array are greater than the target. Okay, so what does this look like? Console.log. This function will say, I'll call it greater than. It's going to take in an array, so I'm going to say 4, 5, 6. And as my second argument, I will be passing in a 2. This should return true. If I were to pass in a 4, this should return false. This should be a lowercase t. Okay, questions? Questions? All right, let's do it. We got this. We got this.
And then basically, section A.
Yeah.
All right, clap your hands once if you can hear my voice. Clap your hands twice if you can hear my voice. Okay, cool. So, how did this one go? Feedback, thumb? No, excellent, pretty good. Okay, let's quickly go over it, and then we can enjoy. Maybe we'll have an extra minute for lunch. Okay. Yeah. Cool. All right, so we'll do const greater than, yeah. Takes in what? And a target. Somebody said callback. I got you. Okay. Whoever said that, get ready because it's coming up again. What should our overall function return? What data type? A Boolean, yeah. And we're using every to get that Boolean, right? For this one, okay. So we're going to say return array.every. What does every take in? Callback, yeah, I like that. Way to go. And that callback takes in what does it expect? It expects to take in an element, right? So we've created an anonymous function, and so now our goal is to just check whether or not every element is greater than the target. Yes? Okay. So I'm going to say return element greater than target. Okay. So if this is true, it will continue on. If it's false, we're going to get a total of false, right? If there's any element that's in there that is not greater than. Give it a little run, and we get our true false. We're still printing these. Okay, so any questions on that? All right. How are we feeling about callbacks in general now? Array methods. Okay. Maybe because you've been seeing it for the last few days. Yeah, it does help, but we're still gonna be good with both. Okay, great. So that's it for lecture, unless we really hit some high problems later today. So take a lunch till 2, and then there'll be pairs posted, already posted by John. So we'll work on with our pairs on our array methods lab, probably for like the duration of the day, right? Just try to knock it out. If you guys finish that, just keep going. Try to work in the bonuses. Just you can go back and refactor old code to use this, right? Okay? Any questions on expectation? All right. Awesome. Way to go. Let's take lunch. You can have the 201 because I promised that minute.